Hello, my name is Jimena and I'm student 1, and today I'm gonna talk about biology, the branches of biology, and how life originated. For starters, I will answer the question, what is biology? It is defined as a science which deals with living things. What are the fields of action and branches? And well, them they remain with structures, processes, environments, living things, or parts of living things, such as cells, among others. Well, some examples of their branches are anatomy, which is the study of the internal structures. There's anthropology, botany, embryology, which is the study of fertilization, biomedicine, biochemistry, cytology, which is the study of the form and structure of cells. There is histology, which is the study of the tissue organization, immunology, biology, zoology, among others. One other important branch is genetics, which is defined as the study of the hereditary variations, which lead us to how evolution started. Well, evolution started first with archaea, then the bacteria, and finally the eukarya. This leads us to the answer how life originated in the planet then. There are so many answers to that question, for example, that comets or meteoroids originate life. Some others say that because of. There are so many answers to that question, for example, that comets or meteoroids originate life. Some others say that because of the electric activity. But until now, the truth is that it's all because of the system of DNA and RNA that stayed the same as a long time ago. So yeah, that's the answer, and thank you for your attentions. And that is everything from segment 1.
Everybody, I'm student number 2. I'm Maria Yamile Quiroga Caldera, and I'll talk about the characteristics of living things and the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Okay, so firstly, I'll talk about the characteristics of living things, and there's 8 main characteristics to distinguish living things. There are organization, genetic code, response to stimuli, homeostasis, metabolism, growth, reproduction, and adaptation. Okay, and I'll try to give a brief and short explanation for every characteristic. So I'll start with organization. And well, living things have a high degree of complexity because they are constituted of molecules, nucleic acids, proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. Each living thing can synthesize its components, and it's organized and constituted by the fundamental unit, the cell, of course. And the living things can be unicellular or multicellular. What follows next is genetic code, and well, this explains the relationship between the sequence of nucleic triplets and amino acids. This code is specific and continuous, like there's no overlap between this, and there's no blanks between the reading. So it's really continuous, it's just like linear. And it's important to highlight that the DNA it's not equivalent to the genome or genotype of this genetic code. Thirdly, we have response to stimuli, and everybody or every animal or living thing it has this mechanism, and they can respond to either light, temperature, sound, or any chemical substance, and they can capture whatever happens outside their environment.
So, hello to everyone. I'm student 3. My name is Alicia Sanchez, and I'll be talking about the history of the microscope. So, the observation of the world of tiny things began with the invention of magnifying lenses, now known as the compound microscope. The invention of the oldest magnifying lenses took place in the Syrian Empire in 750 BC. Also, the Greek, Egyptian, the Roman, and the Babylonian civilization manufacture and use magnifying lenses. However, their magnifying capacity was minimal. Then, in Italy, artists began to carve and magnifying glasses that were used to improve and refine their carving techniques, which culminated in the invention of the transcendental instruments such as the telescope and the microscope. So the real question here is, who invented the compound microscope? In reality, nobody knows who actually invented, but there are three major inventors that are the following. First, we have Zacharias Janssen in 1590, then Galileo Galilei in 1609, and Cornelius Drevel in 1619. So those were the inventors that we know. The microscope was invented at the end of the 16th century and at the beginning of the 17th. The first
Hello, I'm student 4 and my name is Enrique Emiliano Mesa Rojas. I will talk about the different forms of cell transport and the levels of organization. Transport can be classified according to the amount of molecules that pass through the membrane. Transportation can be either passive or active. Active transportation is the transport that sends energy against gradients and spends energy. Passive transportation does not waste energy and goes in favor of concentration gradient, and it can be simple diffusion, ultrafiltration, or dialysis. Simple diffusion is when the molecules cross the lipid bilayer. Gases such as CO2 and oxygen pass freely, water can pass in small proportions, and glucose can pass through it, but only minimal proportion. Facilitated diffusion is the passage of molecules that depends on the presence of the integral membrane proteins that allow this passage. These proteins can form channels or complex transporters. Endocytosis is the incorporation of material into the cell. There's two ways of endocytosis: pinocytosis, which is comparable with drinking, and phagocytosis, which is comparable with eating. Exocytosis is the secretion of the materials produced by cells. It can be divided with eating. Exocytosis is the secretion of the materials produced by cells. It can be divided into two ways: regulated, which responds to a signal to release products, and constitutive, which is constant secretion. Levels of organization divide in multiple layers. In multiple levels. The first level is the atom. The atoms form molecules and biomolecules. The biomolecules constitute organelles and structures. The set of organelles form a cell. A set of cells form a tissue. Tissues form organs. Organs are grouped into systems, and systems constitute an organism. A population is made up of organisms. A community is formed by populations, and a group of communities constitute the ecosystem, and multiple ecosystems make up the biosphere, which is the total set presented as Earth.
Hello, I'm student number 5, Renata Flores Garcia, and I'm going to talk about homeostasis and organ systems. All the vital mechanisms varied as they are have only one object: to preserve constant the internal environment. Walter B. Cannon coined the term homeostasis to describe and define the regulation of its internal environment. Each cell will take care of its self-regulation, that is, maintaining its homeostasis. The term homeostasis comes from two Greek words. One is homois and the other one is stasis. The first one means equal or similar, while the second one means state or stability. This preservation of internal conditions is achieved thanks to metabolism. The balance is reached thanks to the mechanisms of self-regulation that every living thing has. An example that will be familiar to you is the regulation of body temperature. Now I'm going to talk about organ systems. The first one is the digestive system, which processes and absorbs all the nutrients of the food. Endocrine system provides communication with the body through hormones. Integumentary system provides protection against injuries and loss of fluids, as well as physical defenses against infections from microorganisms. It also participates in temperature control. The muscular system provides movement, support, and heat protection. The nervous system collects, transfers, and processes information. It directs fast changes in other organ systems. The reproductive system produces gametes and other sexual hormones. The respiratory system exchanges oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood, air, and body tissues. The skeletal system supports and protects the soft tissues of the body. It provides movement in joints and it produces blood cells and stores minerals. The urinary system eliminates excess water, salt, and waste products of blood and the body in general. And finally, the immune system defends against microbiological pathogens like viruses and bacteria, which cause disease. Thank you for your attention. My name is Renata once again, and thanks for listening. Bye.
Hello, I'm student number 6, and I'm talking about health, disease, and lifestyles in adolescence. Everything in our body is finally regulated by mechanisms that allow us to maintain homeostasis and therefore health. Disease is the loss of balance and homeostasis. Health is affected by industrialization, a mutation, and acceleration of the pace of life. The human being becomes the leading actor of remain responsible with regards to his health. What gives legal support to health as the international law is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's mentioned that every person has the right to life, and in the 25 Fraction 1, it is established that every person has a right to an adequate standard of living that assures him and his family health and well-being. The word health is defined like health is a state of complete and physical, mental, and social being, and not merely of the absence of disease. Therefore, it is possible to identify an illness when the symptoms of a process appear and break the balance of an organism. Adolescence health. Adolescence is a stage that is characterized by the transition between childhood and adulthood, which imply physical, cognitive, and physiological changes. One of the physical changes closely associated with puberty are the hormone ones, which favors the rise of two essential hormones in reproduction, luteinizing and follicle stimulant. The first one helps men, the second causes the onset of menstruation. Other aspect that should be taken into consideration is the mental health. The brain is the one in charge to carry out basic processes such as emotion, judgment, behavioral, and emotional self-control. It is estimated that the development culminates approximately at the age of 21 years old. The underdevelopment of the brain at this age helps looking for excitement, emotion, and novelties. The adolescents must be adapt and decrease of a body weight. It is the thought of the fully life in necessary belonging. In other adolescents make strong criticism to physical aspects, especially when there is overweight. If the younger person gives too much importance, she or he might fall into some disorders such as anorexia or bulimia. Another factor to highlight is the cognitive maturity. Adolescent health has to do with several social aspects as the adoption of value and the development of an identity. The adolescent has the ability to produce more complex reasonings about social issues such as morality and develops altruism and empathy. Healthy lifestyles. Lifestyles are related to social and cultural behaviors pertain to diverse groups, including social classes, international groups. And here are 7 behaviors that lead to the health. Number 1 is the sleep between 7 to 8 hours per day. Number 2, have breakfast every day. Number 3, perform 3 meals a day. Number 4, maintain